I'm Sophia Carter, and the day my boss fired me in front of the entire executive floor was the same day he unknowingly removed himself from the position he had spent 15 years protecting. I didn't flinch, I didn't argue, I didn't even blink, because while he believed he was ending my career, I was about to end his. The company was called Halstead & Rowe Consulting, mid-sized, prestigious, built on reputation and quiet power. To the public, it looked like a standard corporate success story. To the employees, it looked like a strict hierarchy. To my boss, Richard Halstead, it looked like it belonged to him. Richard liked control. He liked polished conference rooms. He liked fear disguised as discipline. And most of all, he liked reminding people who signed their paychecks. I had worked there for 4 years, senior strategy analyst, top performance reviews, clean record, profitable accounts. I kept my head down, delivered results, avoided politics. Richard didn't dislike me, he underestimated me. There's a difference. The morning it happened started like any other. Glass building, city skyline, elevator ride to the 27th floor. But something felt different. Whispers followed me. Emails were shorter than usual, and at 10:12 a.m. I received a message. Conference room B, now. No explanation. When I walked in, the entire leadership team was there. Directors, HR, 2 assistants standing awkwardly near the wall. Richard stood at the head of the table, hands folded, expression rehearsed. "Sophia," he began, voice loud enough to carry beyond the glass walls, "we've reviewed your recent conduct." Conduct. Interesting word. My conduct? I asked calmly. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed emails, budget objections, strategic disagreements, data projections where I had challenged his expansion plan. "You've been insubordinate," he said. No, I had been correct. But correct threatens fragile authority. "I disagree," I replied evenly. He smiled slightly. "You won't need to disagree anymore." Silence fell across the room. He wanted an audience, so he raised his voice. "Effective immediately, you're terminated." Someone gasped softly. Someone avoided eye contact. Richard leaned back, satisfied. Public dominance is addictive to insecure men. I stood slowly, collected the folder, closed it carefully, and said 4 words. "Is that your decision?" He frowned. "Excuse me? Is this your decision alone?" He stiffened. "As CEO, yes." I nodded once. Understood. No tears, no anger, no pleading. That confused him more than resistance would have. I walked out. Elevator doors closed, and for the first time that morning, I allowed myself a small smile. Because Richard Halstead was not the majority shareholder of Halstead & Rowe Consulting. I was. 3 years earlier, when the company faced silent financial instability, a private investment group quietly acquired controlling interest. The transaction was structured through layered holding entities, confidential, strategic, irreversible, and I was the managing partner of that investment group. No one at the firm knew, not the board, not the directors, and certainly not Richard, because operational leadership and ownership are 2 very different things. I had taken the analyst role intentionally, to observe, to evaluate, to understand internal weaknesses before restructuring. Richard thought I needed the job. He never checked who owned the building he stood in. By noon, I was in a different conference room, different building, different tone, legal counsel present, financial advisors prepared. I placed 1 document on the table, termination notice Sophia Carter, signed by Richard Halstead. The room was silent for exactly 6 seconds. Then my attorney spoke. "Well," he said calmly, "that simplifies things." At 2:30 p.m., an emergency board session was initiated. At 3:05 p.m., Richard received an email he didn't expect. mandatory attendance, ownership review. At 3:17 p.m., he walked into the executive boardroom expecting authority. Instead, he found legal representation, compliance officers, and me, seated at the head of the table. His face changed slowly, confusion first, then irritation, then calculation. "Sophia," he said tightly, "you've been terminated. This is inappropriate." "No," I corrected gently. "It's restructuring." A screen illuminated behind me. Ownership breakdown. Majority shareholder, Carter Strategic Holdings, 62%. His voice lost its edge. "That's not possible." "It is," I replied calmly. "You've been reporting to the board. The board reports to ownership." Silence expanded across the room. "For the record," my attorney continued, "determination executed this morning is void pending review of executive conduct." Richard's composure cracked. "You set me up." "No," I said evenly, "you underestimated me." A vote was called, not dramatic, not loud, just procedural. Executive Leadership Confidence Review. It lasted 4 minutes. Result: immediate removal of CEO Richard Halstead, effective end of day. He stared at me like someone trying to solve a puzzle too late. "You were just an analyst." "Yes," I agreed, "and you were just an employee." Security escorted him out at 5:02 p.m. No applause, no cheering. Corporate consequences are quiet. The press release the next morning read, "Leadership transition to strengthen long-term growth. Professional language. Brutal reality." By the end of the week, internal morale shifted, fear dissolved, performance improved, and for the first time, the company functioned without intimidation. People later asked why I endured 4 years under his leadership, why I stayed silent, why I allowed public humiliation. The answer was simple. Power reveals itself best when your opponent believes you have none. I'm Sophia Carter, and I don't argue in conference rooms. I restructure them.